only one user, I think I saw. Just to give you an idea, we are still here in a mindset change phase for the Brussels citizens. We started in July 6th, and we have now a little bit over 7,500 customers. And of those 7,500 customers, 2,000 really active customers. So it goes well, but to give you the comparison, in Milan, we started now 3 weeks ago. Milan is already a city where free-floating car sharing is very known. Every citizen knows it. So we started there mid of October, and after 3 weeks, guess how many customers we had there? 40,000 customers just in 3 weeks' time, because there you don't have this exercise to do to change the mindset of your citizen. Okay, I'll try to stick to the time. I understood that I have just more or less 10 minutes. So how can we improve the quality of life? I think we all want to improve quality of life in the city, but we see it all via different angles. But I think if we try together, we certainly get there where we want to. BMW, some 8-9 years ago, said to themselves already in the strategy departments, guys, are we going to be continuously a part of the problem, or do we want to be a part of a solution? Urbanization on this globe is just going on a very high pace further. Asia even much more than Europe, but even in Europe, just invite you to go to the middle of France or to the middle of Germany, little villages far from cities, they are half empty. And that will not change. You see it more and more everywhere, that we are in an urbanization phase, and I think it will still continue for the next 10 to 20 years. More people in the cities, bigger cities. I mean, I don't have to explain you what it means. Our mobility, more traffic jams, more cars owned by persons, air and noise pollution, parking pressure, etc. So once again, do we want to be part of a solution? And I say part of a solution, not the solution. I think it's very important because we strongly think that intermobility is indeed the future of a city, whether it's going by foot, taking a bike, I like biking, or you need a tram or a metro, and sometimes you will need a car because you have to do some shopping, or you have to you go with 3 or 4 people in the evening when the buses or trams are less frequent. This name, as you said, Drive Now. Drive Now is a joint venture of BMW Group and Sixt, which is a short-term rental company, 50-50. So you have our mother company in Germany, Drive Now GmbH, and we are 100% daughter of BMW, Drive Now Belgium, 100% daughter of Drive Now Germany. Coming from this classical ownership of a car via rental car, going to now really mobility on demand and integrated mobility on demand. That's what we are working on. This means integrated data of public transport and car sharing. That is our goal to go. Very simple. Simplicity sells. I think it's very important. Find it, drive it, drop it. This is really the thing. You have it on your app, you reserve it, you get 50 minutes to walk. Our business model, we need to have enough cars that you can find a car in a maximum 15 minutes of walk in the business area which we defined. And then, and I'll come later to that, you really are convinced about the model. And then you have also all the advantages for the city. I will come back to that later. So you find it, you walk to it, you open it with your app, you start and you have a PIN code, you start it, you drive, you park your car somewhere else, we pay everything as insurance, tax, parking fees. We pay 1 fee per car per year to the Brussels capital region, and then the cars are allowed to park everywhere, and you drop it, and as soon as you stop the car and you close the car, your renting period is over, and you just pay the minute. Many cars, the ultimate aim, of course, that's the middle one, that's an electric car. In Copenhagen, we have only 300 BMW i3s, but there you have more or less on every corner of the streets you have a charging point. If you don't have a sufficiently charging point, then the logistic costs are huge, and you're talking about a factor 10 to 20 more than a classical combustion engine. So you really need this infrastructure. But the capital region is writing a tender to have, I think, I don't dare to say the number because I don't know whether I'm correct. I heard something like 800 charging points in the region of Brussels. And then indeed we can go to full electrical cars. Business going up. This figure is not already correct. It's the first quarter of 2016. We are now over 700,000 customers. 10 cities. Brussels was a 10th city. Milan being the 11th city, which started 3 weeks ago. Kind of customers. In fact, you can say more or less everybody. Of course, you have the early adopters. 25, 35, these are the first ones coming in, but in the end you see that you have a kind of a spread through many different kind of customers. Also in education level, still 10% of lower education level, 10% of your customer base is very important. So I just wanted to stress here, that's really something that you can offer to all the citizens of a city. Married status also a little bit mixed. And then car owners or not. Here in Brussels, what I heard a lot is that many people get rid of a second car when they start drive now. All kind of use cases, whether you want shopping or in the evening go to a restaurant, whatever, it's very, very different, all the use cases where you can drive now for. In the end, and this is a very last important one, that is the last mile gap. Public transport, because of the mass volume you need to make it payable, affordable. Of course, public transport cannot afford themselves to go everywhere in a city. And here we can be added value in a combined mobility offer that somebody comes to the city, driving in the city with tram, and then still to the two kilometers to a corner. Well, while you're in the public transport, you can look where there's a car nearby where your public transport stops, reserve the car, go in the car, and drive from A to be. And once again, this is Copenhagen, and I happened to be there 2 weeks ago. It's fully electric car, and there you really have this good intermobility existing. With the NMBS, SNCB, we did kind of a little start together with Pierre is here in the audience to see whether we can also try to have people, instead of queuing up in the traffic from Antwerp or Liège or Ghent every time to Brussels, then if you need a car in Brussels and therefore you come with your car, no, take the train, and when you're in Brussels, when you need a car, you have Drive Now. And you see what you see also, if free floating is successful, and I'll tell you why it's so successful if you have some time. Also the other ones like Cambio, station-based, get really successful too. Why? We are really focused on this very small trips, 20, 30 minutes within the city. But if you put your car away, then indeed you still need a car for a weekend or day. And then the station-based business offers are really good also. You see this in those three cities that the whole car-sharing business, whether it's free floating or station-based, goes up when the principle gets really successful. And I want to come before this slide to really explain you. This is the credibility of it. So I'm living in a city and I'm working in the city. And I'm saying, I need my car. It's only 2 or 3 weeks statistically proven per week, but I need it, therefore I keep my car. And that's what's happening. And if the credibility is there, I need suddenly a car. I look on my app, I have the car. If this is really in the head of a person, then he says, why the hell do I have this car? I pay parking cost, insurance, maintenance, whatever, and then people get rid of the car. And that is the model and that is the model that's also for the city really gets then the benefit, and also why the region of the Brussels Capital Region really changed the legislation to make this happen. If you look, these are very different studies. It's up going from 3 to 12 cars that are gone, owned by private persons in the city when free-floating car sharing is really successful in a city. These studies are publicly available. Parking, a free-floating car is used 300 minutes every 24 hours, plus more or less 20% use, not more. Would be lovely to be more, but that's the reality. But a public car is used 50 minutes per 24 hours. That's 5 times less parking space that you will have in the city. And on top, if you then change one free-floating car for every 5, 6 cars going out of the city, really the city gets the advantages also of this principle. And last but not least, if you don't have a car anymore and you suddenly have to move, you don't look where are my keys to grab my keys. Now you think, do I have to go by feet, bike, metro, bus, or do I need a car because I have to take some stuff with me? Other advantages, certainly here in Brussels with all the diesel cars, proven in German cities, most cars that are changed and put away when they are going into car sharing cars are mostly 9 to 11 years old, have a much higher CO2, and in Belgium 90% are NOx, also NOx emissions, which our cars now are only petrol cars. All 3-cylinder petrol cars. We will start with some 10 cars, electric cars, very soon in January, but that's testing. But in the end, if we can have only electric cars, that's our game. But now, so far, 99 grams CO2 and only petrol. That's it, my little story. So I still have 3 minutes. If you have questions, please feel free.
Great. Question for... Yes.
Hello, thank you very much for your presentation. I was actually quite interested in this particular service. I was wondering if in the future you are thinking, because I know that a lot of people that come to Brussels, they're actually daily commuters that come from outside of Brussels, and those people, they actually use the car at least once a day for 5 days a week. And if you're thinking of making some kind of subscription base or something like that so that people could also use Drive Now for that. And also what I'm very curious about...
The trip from another city to the city?
For example, Antwerp to Brussels or Leuven to Brussels.
It's intercity, because if we just offer a service from one city to another city, it will be not the real big advantage for mobility. Whether they are using a car sharing or their own private car, that will not be the big advantage. So what we're trying, and we did a test case first with the NMBS SNCB, that please take the train if you need a car in Brussels when you're there, but you don't want to queue up coming from Antwerp, Liège, or whatever, Namur or Ghent. Take the train. When you're in the city, you can have a car and take then a car for the last mile cap.
And you're thinking of integrating it somehow with SNCB, like some sort of
we are
ticket
looking now with also MEVB tip, whether we can integrate on a Mobib card. There will be many, many steps that the whole model gets more integrated, and that's very important, of course. But Rome is not built in one day, as you say.
And what I'm very curious about is accidents, actually, because I noticed there's quite a few cars that have accidents in Brussels. And I'm wondering what actually happens if you have an accident with your car.
I can explain you later, perhaps. I mean, we have the logistics things for that. I can only say you that myself, I was much more pessimistic about Brussels, because in the media, especially in Flanders, Brussels is often put not always in a positive picture. I can just say to you, so far, in accident rates, we are very good. London is by far 10 times worse. So it looks good. Of course, we are not yet at 60,000 customers. The more customers we will have, more trips we will have more accidents. There's a logistic behind how a customer can do that. There's a 0800 service number free from the car. You don't need your own phone. That helps you to get through it. It's not a major issue, I would say.
Yeah. One more question, Mark, please.
Just a quick question. Thank you first for the innovation in terms of solution. Communicate anything about the cost for the user?
Subscriptions cost is 29 euros and then 33 cents per driving minute. And if you reserve the car, 19 cents. Why do we do that? Because we don't want people to reserve a car two hours, because then they are parked again. So 50 minutes for free when you reserve it on your app to walk through it. These 50 minutes are free. And then when you go in the car, the moment you put on the start button, it starts, 33 cents per minute.
So in your positioning then, on this basis, in function of the taxi and the train and the common, the metro, any idea?
I think more or less, I would say we are in the middle between taxi and public transport cost. More or less in the middle.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you very much,
Christian.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
This is for you. You're welcome.